Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just got back from seeing Bad Boys for Life. So, when it comes to the Bad Boys movies, they have to have the longest gaps in between sequels. With the first film coming out in 1995, the sequel coming out in 2003, and this one happening 17 years later at 2020. And it follows the adventures, once again, of Mike Lowrey and Marcus Burnett, played by Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, who are coming to the point of their careers where they have to consider retirement. But when a mysterious new villain ends up trying to kill Mike Lowrey and several other people, Mike and Marcus, alongside a team of rookies called Ammo, feel like they have to do this one more time to become bad boys for life and right the wrongs of the past. Now, the first two Bad Boys films certainly had good chemistry between Marcus and Mike, but as good movies, they don't exactly hold up by today's standards. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Michael Bay just cannot competently direct action to save his life, and some plot points in the first films, as well as the lackluster villains, kept them from being good movies as a whole. So, for this Bad Boys film, not only is Michael Bay not involved as the director, but it goes to some surprising dramatic places that the first two Bad Boys films simply didn't go to. This is the first time in the series where it feels like Martin Lawrence and Will Smith get to evaluate their relationship as far as characters go, where they get to have some drama with the comedy. Not only is the humor a lot funnier than the previous films, not having to rely on tired cliches, but it respects the adventures of the past while also paving a way for the future. It's not something that's easy to do with sequels, but they do manage to ratchet up the stakes in a surprisingly good way, and deliver some solid action beats with some grisly violence that I didn't really expect from the series to surprise me. It's R-rated for a very good reason. Will Smith cusses up a storm, the violence is bloody, and a lot of it's very punchy. Not just the gunfights, but also some hand-to-hand combat encounters that are so brutal and done in such a good way that it reminded me of the better fights from the John Wick series, just with cops instead of assassins, you know. And not to mention, Will Smith, despite being 50, I believe, he still looks about as good as he did back in the early 2000s, which is important considering this is a very important film for Lowrey in terms of his dramatic character moments as well as his action beats. And Will Smith does an excellent job in that role. Martin Lawrence not only plays a good comic relief as Marcus, but we get to see a different side of him that we don't normally get to see. He has to be a pacifist for a little while. He not only acts as the voice of reason, but also as an effective comic relief who uses effective jokes from the past, but also manages to bring some dramatic heft to the role. And of course, the captain returns, and he's pretty funny for the times he's there, and thankfully he's not just the guy who says, hey, you do this, and you do this. He actually does have some good moments in the movie as well. Even if he hasn't aged as well as, say, Will and Martin have. Now we have the new kids on the block, the Ammo Squad. I'm thinking that they were created mainly so they could make a spin-off of these guys if they were popular. They probably won't at this point, but I personally liked them. Yes, a lot of their jokes are about how they're the new cutting-edge police officers in comparison to Mike and Marcus's old-school tactics, but they are fun characters too. They have a good rapport with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. They get to be involved in the action scenes too, and I can easily distinguish those guys apart. And I even got invested in one of their little side stories. So if they want to have these guys again in Bad Boys 4, I'd be all for it. The villains, I think, are some of the best villains in the series, mainly because they actually do have some development to them, and because they are connected to Mike Lowrey's past in a way that I didn't expect. So as a whole, Bad Boys for Life is the best film in the series, and when the one great film in the series is the one not directed by Michael Bay, it should say something. Bad Boys for Life gets an 8 out of 10. See you next time.